Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I don't plan to take long, so I decided to record this when I don't have time to take long. Here's the deal. Right now, we are required and compelled to hear about what's going on now between the Palestinians and the Zionists. We black folks do have something we can learn from it without taking somebody else's struggle and allowing that to take priority over our own. Even though what they're going through right now, physically speaking, is worse. Right now, currently, it's worse. They're going through police brutality as a routine, bombings, being shut in and then being told that if they move, once the IDF forces show up, they're considered to be Hamas supporters and will be shot. That's a genocide. Look, you can't leave. We're not going to let you leave. But if you're alive and you move, when we show up, you won't be alive any longer. We'll kill you for being there, even though we're blocking your path of escape. What I wanted you to understand is that the Zionists are taking what happened to their grandparents in Poland and Germany, and they have developed exactly what I don't want us to develop. And I'm going to tell you why this is different. We black folks have developed a Blackanoia because we've caught just about everybody insulting us in their own language. Everybody has a translation of the N-word in their own language. And you're talking about cultures where they don't have hardly anything to say about white folk. And if they do, most of them don't even know what it is. In the Arabic language, do insults and derisions exist for white folks? I'm sure in certain dialects. Most Arabs don't know that. Doesn't even occur to them. I've had Bedouins darker than me sit up, call us Abida when I say, let me hear you insult white folks. They go, A'udhu billah, astaghfirullah. And what that means is God, I seek God's forgiveness and I seek God's refuge from doing that. Wait, what? So you just call us slaves casually. Even if you don't hate us, you still think it's okay. But when I say insult white folk, you're like, oh my God, no, the blasphemy of it. But I've also come across others who have said, oh, yeah, sure, they're the worst people on the planet. And they'll go off. So I've seen both reactions. But the fact is that a Bedouin who thinks he's this good Muslim by heritage will seek refuge from insulting white folks tells me something. So we have Blackanoia, and I've talked about this before. The Zionists have the exact same thing. And then I'm going to tell you why we shouldn't develop it to the same extent they do. They were the victims in Germany and in Poland and in Austria. They were. That man whose last name starts with an H was a monster. He was traumatized himself by what happened in World War I, but he became a monster. Now he is their monster, and he should be. And they were shocked and horrified. That's why I said hocked. They were horrified and shocked by what happened because not only did this man rise to power, but their neighbors turned on them and said, yes, put them in those trains and send them to those camps. Get rid of them. That's what people that had been friends of theirs. Everyone turned on them. In Austria, it was not quite the same shock, but in Germany, it was a shock. They were not aware of such sentiment against themselves. Until they were on trains. And even then, they didn't think they were going to be exterminated, and they were exterminated. Here's why we should not go down that same path in our Blackanoia. One, the Zionists are now the monsters. They are now the same man whose last name starts with an H that ran Germany with popular support. They have now become the same thing to a group of people. We're looking at both and saying, don't none of them care about black folks. So, they got that. And that is actually the right thing to say to them, but it is not necessarily the right attitude for us to actually have internally. Is it something they need to hear? Your mother cuss word right. But understand this too. Palestinians actually marched in the streets while they were under siege in Gaza and in the West Bank and have blockaded from food and everything. That's been going on for years. While they were going through this, they went out into them streets to march in West Bank and Gaza. They did protest. And you know the IDF has no tolerance for that. They went out and did this, protesting against the death of George Floyd. So they had time to care. And as I stated, you have had people hungry, starving, who will not so much as burn the flag of an African nation for $100. A social experiment was run. My wife saw it, told me about it. So they have this casual problem of saying certain things, and we can respond in kind and say, look, we're not about to sit up here and start crying for y'all while y'all have got these insulting things to say about our color, even though we know what's going on with you was wrong. But we don't need to turn around and actually be that way on the outside. On the inside, I should say. If you can find a way to help and support their cause, it makes sense that you would do it. Okay, yeah, but don't let them know that. See, sometimes the best way to be humane is to be humane in such a way that the one benefiting from it does not know that it is from you, because they know they don't deserve that. And they still need to learn that lesson. Now, later, if they come along and they say, I'm doing fine, but you had nothing to do with it, then that's when you can say, no, I did. I just didn't tell you because you didn't deserve to know at that time. You deserve to be free from what you were dealing with. You just didn't deserve to have me swoop in and be your hero. So I didn't tell you. That help you got, that was actually me. Oh, you didn't think I knew about that, huh? That's because I sent it. And if you learn your lesson, then I don't have to repeat that same lesson to you. That's actually the best way to handle this. Now, I'm going to tell you why it is that even though the Zionists today have their own version of Blackanoia, which actually precedes ours, I'm going to state why we don't need to go down that path. One, they're the monsters. They are the monsters. They're on the wrong side of history. They're the oppressors. So look, I'm telling you now, a Zionist is the one that's Ubermenschen, barely human. They turned around and deserved what this guy with an H in his last name did to their grandparents. They've earned it. They figured, well, if it was going to happen and the rest of the world wasn't going to come save us until a few years later, and it wasn't even a full decade that this happened, but they pretty much said, you know what, we're going to become that. We're going to deserve that. But they would turn around, and they really did by doing this to another group of people. It didn't do anything to them. The other reason is this. Blackanoia is a reaction. It is not something that we invented or started. Blackanoia that we have is a reaction. I want to state this too, though. The Zionism that we see touted as their reaction to the trauma they faced in Germany shortly before and then during World War II actually existed before that point. I want you to keep that in mind. It existed before that monster whose last name starts with an H presided over their mass destruction. Oh yeah, some books written from the 1800s. It's just that when that monster came into power over them, they used that as an excuse to grow and spread. Oh yeah. You see, the ones who followed him, how's it going, sir? The ones who wound up being the cases that the ones who followed that beforehand touted that as an excuse to spread it. That's all. They actually were glad that something like this had happened. I want you to look up its origins from before even the First World War, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Forgive me. I'm sorry. That wasn't good English. You will see that about which I'm speaking. I hope that what I've said helps you. And more to come later. Also, I'd like to thank Señor Coleman and Red Falls Black for coming through in the CashApp. I mean that from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind. I really do appreciate that. I'm not joking. And also, I hope it benefits you. As always, thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power, because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you again for flying with me on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black. Not Blackanoia, but black. With us until the wings and the wheels fall off. May Allah's justice come and stay forever.